Hello and welcome to part 2 of this tutorial series about making comics with 3D software. In the last part I showed you how to make this scene and slightly tweak the character and things, but I mentioned that with that studio being free there wasn't a lot of content that came with it, and so this part is about how to get more content or make the most of what you have already. So to start off with, I say I have this figure and it's a Genesis 8 male, and it's using the Sci-Fi Settler clothing, which I believe comes with Dash Studio when you get it. I could be slightly incorrect there, but I think it's one that came with it. What I'm just going to have a look at is a Sci-Fi Settler. Where's he gone? I'll stick with the wrong one. Genesis 8 male clothing. Characters clothing. I'm doing well today. Sci-Fi Settler. Drop down to have the 3D Light and RE versions, but I don't have any alternative textures for it. Now obviously you can change textures and you can use shaders and things like that to modify them. What I'm going to show you quickly is how to change some textures. So I'm going to take his coat. Photoshop's done its thing. Very coat. I'm going to surfaces. So just go for the body, and here onto base colour. Go to browse. Let's find the coat base. I'll open this with Photoshop. So this is the text. This is the texture image for the coat. Essentially, the geometry, which is the mesh that makes something up. I'll just show you on Genesis itself. Go to wire shaded. So the mesh effectively is the geometry that makes up the model. And to texture it, effectively it's unpeeled and laid out in ways to make things that don't stretch or bend in strange ways. So you get a UV map which lays out the coordinates, so it knows where to put parts of this image on the 3D model. So what you can do to if you want to modify or change a texture, you can load it up in Photoshop. And you can do simple colour changes. On this one, what am I going to do with it? I'm going to do a colour change. It's just something simple. So I've duplicated the layer. I'm just going to hue and saturation, and I'm going to put on set to colorize. So let's make it more blue or purple even, and I'm going to go to soft light. That doesn't do much with that. Let's go for a different. That's a bit more vibrant, isn't it? Oh no. Okay, black and purple. There we go. So just found that image, and I'm going to save this. PNG. I'm just going to put an A after it for the moment. Something simple. So now that's saved. I'll go to and I'll colour. So very quickly we've changed the image on the coat. Now you'll see on the coat I've just changed the body part. I haven't changed the cuffs or the arms. But that's fine. I could change other parts, but you get the drift of how I've changed it. All of a sudden it looks, well, different at least. Let's just see how that looks when it renders. Just take a moment. There you go, maybe it's a bit too dark, but again, that's something fine. When you're doing these things, you'll probably tweak them, check them that before you put them into use. So let's That's one element done. Now the next stage, if you're not just changing textures on things or modifying them, it's where you get fresh content from, either fresh figures, morphs and things. I mentioned about various sites before, and I'll just go. Obviously you can buy things from Daz 3D, from their shop. You can get the free things. You can also buy things from Renderosity. What I've done here, I've brought up their free content section, and you can get things from there, and also from ShareCG, as I mentioned. Now, one thing that's important to remember when you are downloading things, whether you're buying it or getting it free, is making sure that it's right for what you want. Now, obviously, if you're getting something from Daz 3D, it's most likely to be for Daz Studio. However, it's always pays to read the details. So here it tells you who it's by, the compatible figures. So as you noticed, if you remember, I downloaded the Genesis 8. I loaded in the Genesis 8 figure into the software. So this, you know that will fit the figure that I'm using. Here it mentions D-Force. Well, this is the cloth simulator for more realistic clothing, make sure it hangs on the body accurately and things. That's inbuilt with Daz Studio, so don't worry about that at the moment. If it says D-Force, it'll work, don't worry. Now, if you find something that says, let's go for figure, say Genesis, say 3 or 2, or even Genesis, or Victoria 5 or Michael 5, they should all work with Genesis 8 quite well. Now, to explain the naming, the Daz figures started out with Victoria and Michael as the male and female figures. They went through various generations: Michael 2, Michael 3, Michael 4. After Michael 4 and Victoria 4, they went on to the Genesis figure, and they had then the separate versions as well. And then obviously they've gone to Genesis 2, Genesis 3, and after Genesis 3 they've gone back to the generational number. So Genesis 8 is the 8th generation of the Daz figures. Anything older than Genesis or Generation 5, you'll have a harder time getting working with Genesis 8. It's always worth paying attention to what you're downloading and what figure it's for, because sometimes they'll say Genesis, it might be a bit vague as to which one it is, especially on Renderosity or a site outside of Daz. Obviously Daz being their own figures, they're a bit more concise about it. When you're using those items, so let's take his clothes off and go to the content library and go to Genesis 2 male, go to clothing, and let's just put Courageous Warrior. Well, that's maybe not that one. Let's put Death Knight. Okay, here we go. Actually, that won't work so well because that uses textures as part of it. Let's go to Adventurer. Nice and simple. Okay, so let's get him selected in the scene. Now we'll select the pants or trousers. So when you select something from another figure, it'll come up with this auto fit. So it will attempt to make the clothing fit from an older figure onto the newer shape. As we one that's supported here, we've got the Genesis 8 3s, the 2s, and the Genesis. So it's Genesis 2 male. I can select the type, but I don't really need to. I'll just put none, and it will auto fit it to the shape. And there we go. It's working perfectly fine. And let's put his tunic on. Same thing, Genesis 2 male. Leave it on there, and bang, he's done. So it's fitting. They don't work quite as well. You usually tend to find that you might lose the morphs. Let's check. So adjustments, see how well they work. They are working, that's pretty good. on some of the older ones or old versions that didn't work so well, but they seem to have sorted that now. So that's good. So if you find there's a bit of skin shows through the clothing, you can use these adjustments to stop them from showing. So right thigh, just there we go. Right. So there we have like using things for older generations. If it's older than the Genesis range, the Generation 5, it will be hard to get it to work. And let's see if we'll find an example. Have I got any clothing for mine? For clothing, bodysuit. Yeah, let's try this bodysuit on him. So again, it comes up that. So if we select unsupported, we can select full body. Go from there. And as you can see, it hasn't worked so well. It's tried, bless it, but no, there are other ways around it, but I won't go into that now. So anyway, the content itself. What another part I want to go into is one is reading it. So Daz, right, Daz can use content made for Poser, which gives you extra options for free content that's available. I'm going to go through how to install these in Daz Studio and get them all up and running. So I found these hip jeans for Genesis 8 female, which I've downloaded, and this Hell Cycle 3 for Poser, which I've downloaded, and this Mountain of Serpent's Divinity for Poser. They are all downloaded. I'll just show you how to install them, ready to run in Daz. So I've got the Hell Chopper here, so I'll just open that from the zip. I'll extract the, I won't extract it, I'm just going to copy it. So I've got the runtime. Now this, because it's a Poser format, all their things will come on in a runtime folder. So just copy that, and then we go to Studio. So what we find is in My Documents you'll have the Daz 3D folder, and then you have Studio, and inside Studio you have My Library. Within that is where you want all your content to go. I know the runtime folder's in there, and there's a whole directory of things which set it in the right place. So I'm just going to paste that straight into there, and that's done. So I can go to that one now. And what else have we got here? So we have the Mountain of the, oh no, that's had a network error. I'll come back to that in a minute then. Let's have a look at the other one, the hip jeans. Here we go. So this time we have runtime, people and data. It all goes into the same place. Often with Daz it'll come under a thing saying My Library, and you don't want to copy My Library into My Library. You want what's within My Library to go into My Library, strangely enough. So paste that in there, and I'll go back to, I'm just going to paste those. It's probably just some README files I've copied. You should probably check that normally, but I'm fairly confident. I'm going to click to download that again, see if that's going to be any more successful, but I'll come back to that. So we got these hip jeans for Genesis 8, so I'm going to go to New. Let's go back up to the top. I'm going to refresh everything just to make sure it shows the new content. So first we'll need to load in the Genesis 8 female from people, and so we'll have, this time I have a naked woman rather than a naked man. Now to save you having the trauma of staring at naked breasts and things, I will put on a top for her. So we've got these hip jeans I've downloaded, so they will be under My Library, which is where I put it. They should still again be under People, and just say Female Clothing, and I'm not sure who made it. School Uniform, no, it wasn't that one. Right. that was on the hip jeans. Let's click those. Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, the two models don't quite fit together perfectly there, but let's see if there's something I can do with that. Find basic wear tank top and go to tank top wide and bum. So if we're going to bring that back, that tucks it in, wide and lower. Okay, oh, so it's finding that. If you go too far, obviously it will expose flesh underneath. So went too far with the wide and bum. But it's close, not quite there. So the other option is I have it all over. Expand it so it all sits over the top of it, as that, rather than tucked in. There we go. So it's all hanging over a jeans there. So not bad. So this motorcycle, that was a poser format. So let's go to poser formats, go to my library and figures. Now, who was that by? AJ's Choppers. So I don't know where this is going to be put into in the thing. So I'm assuming it's going to be in the figures. Could be on all these different headers. People put them in different folders and files. So let's look for AJ's Choppers. No, let's look for Health Cycle then. So this can be a bit of a dilemma. So the dead stuff is nicely organised. Some of the other things not so well. So I'm not seeing it there. So I'll probably cut out while I search for it. Okay, so I looked it up. It's under James Gang. Here we go. So on the James Gang, we have the Health Cycle 3. Okay. Right. Okay, so let's have a quick look, see how it. Let's put her in a sitting pose first. Pose her. This is going to be quick and lazy. So there we go. Let's do that. Let's just lift up slightly. It normally looks like she's vaguely looks like she's riding. So this is not going to pose out. I don't expect the materials are set up quite right for Daz. So the bike itself probably won't look as good as it would in pose at the moment. Yeah, you probably find these bits are probably supposed to look more chrome-like. Again, there are ways of making that look better. So surfaces, check that. The emblem. Let's put metallic. Yeah, there's no texture on that. Let's put metallic. That's the dark grey. If I look at the image it had on the thing, yeah, it's all very chrome looking, wasn't it? So what I can do with all this is I go to Content Library, go to Daz Studio Content and my Daz 3D Content, scroll down to Shader Presets and select Iray and Daz Uber, we have little shader presets, and there are some sort of metallic ones which I can use. So if I just select I'll leave that as it is. If I select the splines, the white stuff, so I'm going to put the metal aluminum satin, and then the vertex I will find, let's just use iron, and then I need to do the forks, sphere, let's put copper on that, spline we use the aluminium for, and vertex we use the iron for. Then we have the wheel, so the spline, which is the aluminium or aluminium depending on where you're from. This actually has a texture on it, so I'm not going to do anything, I'm just going to put that as a matte. There's the back wheel, so that, we'll put that on. Yeah, let's just put that as matte. So just through changing those, probably find that we have a better look already. Again, you can play with the surfaces and everything until you get looking how you want it. And like I say, the danger of using things that are, say, either made for Poser or just for 3D models, they may not have the texture set right, may not have them set at all. It's a bit of a gamble, but that's where the shaders and materials can come in. But we've got a reason to work with that quite easily. So anyway, let's get rid of that. Let's see if the other one's downloaded. See if that one's playable. No, it's not playable. That's a shame. So that looked like quite a nice thing there. Let's try that again. Let's give it a go. La-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-da. Hooray, 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 hooray. Oh yeah, this is quite long. So long. 4 hours. 5 hours. Yeah, I think it's going to fail on me again. That's a shame. Moving on, the other side of things is if you download a 3D model that's not set up for DAZ or Pose or anything, it's just a 3D model that can be imported into any 3D software, usually like an OBJ format. You go to Import, and here I've selected a model I downloaded before called the EZO harvesting facility. So I'm importing here. So it's showing up here, but I can't see anything. But if I hover over it, it's there. So it's obviously black or very dark. No, it's not visible. So this is something that sometimes happens because the settings in whatever software they were made in or saved in, things show up a bit strangely. Put base colour to white. That doesn't do anything. Cutout opacity. Oh, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Cutout opacity is down to 0. So yeah, now all of a sudden I've put the opacity on and it's visible. So of course it doesn't have any textures. So it might be that it has some. So what I need to do is find, there we go, so complete map, there we are, and there it is, it's textured. And with the scale, if I had a figure in there, the figure would be much larger in comparison, different scale. But it's this sort of thing, you know, would we need it to be scale? Not necessarily, because we wouldn't have that with a figure on unless we wanted to change it dramatically. So as you can see, it's a bit shiny. So I'm going to go down here to the glossy reflexivity, or the glossy colour. I'm going to change that to black, and it takes the sheen off it. And I've also got a much more matte looking effect. I can go to render settings, and so let's go to rotation. Let's take the draw date off. So it's the same textures, it's quite good. As it's one complete map, we can't change it too much. At least not without going into Photoshop and just changing the sections we want. Again, that would be a similar sort of process as before. Just go to show you that example. Let's open up Photoshop. So, you can see it's a very complex map. As a result, it's slightly less detail, but something like this you would have an ultra close-up of really anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. So look at the model. So I can see what's what really. See all different types of rock. This is obviously some sort of crystal formation. Now I can't change the parameters of the things. I can't make this bit translucent and this bit not. If I change the material settings, it will affect the whole thing. So it's all got to look fairly matte-like. But other things I can do in the Surfaces tab, I could put on a bump map. Now normally a bump map is a black and white image, but if I just put the main image on, it'll get enough information from that. I turn up the amount of the bump, and this creates a faux, sort of almost like a fake 3D image. It adds like a bit more detail to it. So you can see the metal hasn't changed too dramatically, but the rock has become more, what to say, more rock looking slightly. But again, I don't really like the rock texture on here. So in Photoshop, so this is clearly all the rock section down here. If I wanted to make something that was maybe a bit more interesting, or more the colour I wanted, I could. And if I just add on another layer, I'm going to, oh, I don't want that, I want rectangular mask. Now, I'm going to put in okay, so I'm bringing this rock texture here. I'm actually going to scale it right down. Okay, so what I need to do now, let's make sure it's cut out the right section. By invert that and delete that. All of a sudden I now have the texture with a more aggressive rock. Now what I also want to do is adjust the brightness and contrast. Let's make it a bit darker, make it more contrasty. There we go. Again, you can do that with levels, maybe make it a bit more impressive, but let's find the image. File, save as, let's put ALT for Alt and save. Done. Now I can change that, and I'll change the bump as well. I'll lower the bump a bit. Maybe not that much. All of a sudden I've made it a bit more colourful. And again, for the bump map, I'm just going to have it at distance. I might want the bump map higher, stronger, but the bump map stronger. So that should show you where to find free content, how to import it, and other ways of getting a little bit more out of the models and textures, and how to modify things slightly. Again, in future instalments I'll go more in depth on all these things, and I'll show you glimpses of different functions in here, all of which there is so much more to. I'm barely scratching the surface, but much of it, as long as you know the basics, you can get so far with it. A bit of trial and error and you can figure things out for yourself. There's also lots of online resources for tutorials that are much more specific. This is very much geared towards people who are very new to it, who are looking to try it out, see if it's for them. And yeah, I will start going more in depth and actually getting more into going into actual comic making. But I felt it's important to show some of the basics of Dad Studio and where to get the content, because that'll be one of the first roadblocks you hit. If you're trying to make 3D comics without the content, you're not going to get anywhere. So that's all for now, and I'll see you in the next instalment.